lot of people don't want regulation, but let me make the base case for why everybody in this room wants it. Let's just take the granddaddy asset, Bitcoin, okay? Let's just start there. You may be excited that it's at 800 billion market cap. That is absolutely a nothing burger in the context of financial services. It is a rounding error because the majority of wealth in the world is managed by sovereign wealth and pension plans, both stateside and around the world. 100 billion, 200 billion, $1 trillion mandates that do not own a single Bitcoin, not one.
Kevin Oleary, just like the CEO of MicroStrategy, Michael Saylor believes that the regulation of crypto assets will lead to more institutional adoption for the crypto assets, which will eventually lead to a tsunami in the price of crypto assets, especially the king crypto Bitcoin. Federal Reserve Governor Christopher Waller, on his part, want crypto regulation to ensure more security for crypto investors. Several high-profile collapses in the crypto world recently have prompted calls for better guardrails for what's essentially an unregulated market. One reason, the popularity. A recent Fed survey showed about 12% of U.S. adults used or held cryptocurrency in the past year, mostly for investment purposes. Other surveys suggest the number of crypto users is even higher. Better regulation of the fast-growing world of crypto assets is needed not to keep rich people from losing money, but for the sake of everyone else, Federal Reserve Governor Christopher Waller said on Friday. In particular, he said the aim of regulation would be to protect society from the often irresistible pressure to socialize the losses of investors with limited resources and to limit the spread of financial stress. Kevin Oleary, however, believes that says U.S. crypto regulations will not come out until after the midterm elections. He explained that President Joe Biden is not interested in discussing crypto when his approval ratings have sunk to record lows. Oleary also cited other factors, including double-digit inflation and high food and gas prices. Before we listen to Kevin Oleary interview, please take a second to smash the like button and consider subscribing to the channel if you are yet to do so. Thanks for watching our videos.
So for all the excitement that we have in these conferences, and this is very important to discuss, it is so nascent, it is not even on the radar of these asset allocators. And they're not going to put it on the radar until it gets cleared by the SEC in one way or another, because the majority of their wealth is indexed into the S&P, the largest market on earth. And if you don't have access to that because you're somehow rogue, it's not worth buying Bitcoin. It's not worth buying Bitcoin at all because it's a tiny fraction of what they're trying to manage. Now, if we could get regulation, and I would argue if we could just regulate one coin at the beginning, let it be Bitcoin, and one stable coin, that would be fantastic. But staying on Bitcoin, here's what would happen. I'm an indexer. I asked the sovereign wealth, what allocation would you put into Bitcoin? And the typical mandate for those guys, we have 11 sectors of the S&P. Their rules are long only, no more than 20% in any one sector, no more than 5% in any one stock. So they may initiate their index of Bitcoin at 50 basis points. When you're running $1 trillion mandate, that is a ton of money. And so all of a sudden the demand for that asset, Bitcoin, becomes higher, the price goes up, but it gets better. If they bought it at, let's say, $30,000, and their mandate is they're going to be a 50%, or let's say 1% weighting, and it goes to a 2% weighting, within 90 days they sell it back down to 1%. Or if it drops, they buy it back up. They are the eternal bid for the asset. And all of a sudden the stability of Bitcoin, instead of having 50% swings every 12 months or more, that's gone forever because there's an underlying multi-trillion-dollar bid for the asset. Now, I don't know why there's a single person in this room that wouldn't want that. So I encourage Lummis, and I encourage Haggerty, and I encourage Toomey, all of these regulators, let's get going here because the rest of the world is far advanced. Canadians already have an ETF in Bitcoin. They already have an Ethereum ETF. The Swiss have already licensed a dealer broker attached to a crypto exchange. So is Canada. The UAE is doing the same thing with the ADGM. I run around the world trying to find places to put money to work. It's everywhere else except the United States. What's wrong with this picture? It's broken. We got to fix it. And I know there's a lot of other political agenda on before the midterms, and I'm sure Biden isn't sitting there saying, I wonder what Kevin Oleary thinks about regulation on Bitcoin. I mean, he doesn't care because he's got a lot of other issues, but we got to get this dealt with on the other side of the midterms.
And you've even noted before that you think that crypto will be the 12th sector of the S&P. Why do you think that?
because of the productivity. You think about the number one sector of all sectors, the grandmother, grandfather, it's currency and it's financial services. No economy can operate without it. The productivity enhancement tools that are available now as you contemplate higher speed transactions, what Polygon is doing, aggregating on top of Ethereum, figuring out all these things, all these incredible teams. And I look at it, I've said this countless times, but it's so apropos right now. Bitcoin is not a coin. It's software. Ethereum is software. Solana is software. Helium is software. Pollen is software. These are all software projects. The amount of intellectual capital going into these projects, these are the smartest coders in the world. They don't want to go work in any of the other 11 sectors right now. You graduate from Waterloo, you graduate from MIT, you come out of Temple, and you're a coder, you're going one way to blockchain. That's where you want to be. Now, when you get that much intellectual capital working on something, and I'm an investor, I got to wet my beak. Are you kidding? I know there's going to be incredible outcomes. I just don't know which ones. So I'm spread across 32 positions right now. I'm sure the majority won't work, but I only need a few. I mean, I own these things at their nascent, beginnings, and I'm hoping that some of these ideas work out. And we haven't even touched on NFTs yet. I mean, there's so much going on here that you've got to spread your bets. You can't just be a big chunk of Bitcoin, a big chunk of Ethereum.
Kevin Oleary has said several times in his interviews that he has invested in many different crypto assets, believing that one or more will pay off big and cover for any loss he might experience from the others. By its very nature, investing involves exposing oneself to financial risk with a potential reward of expected financial gains. The purpose of diversification is to lower risk in investing. Diversification often means spreading investments across different sectors, different financial instruments, and different industries. In traditional investing, this could mean investing in multiple stocks as well as bonds. There are more than 10,000 crypto assets, and it can be confusing which ones to invest in. Here at Savvy Finance, majority of our crypto assets are in the top 10 crypto, with the bulk of it in Bitcoin and Ethereum.
So in this line of thinking with investment, you used to be very against crypto, and then there was a turning point where I think you really had this light bulb moment where you're like, okay, this is happening and there's nothing stopping it. Why is this such an amazing investment opportunity today?
My turning point, and I get that pomp video shoved in my you-know-what every day from the CNBC interview. Every day. He never lets me forget. But the turning point for me was getting a call from one of the analysts I work with that watches the OSC in Canada, where we have a lot of investments, saying they're going to license the world's first crypto exchange attached to a dealer broker. And that just said, whoa. I mean, that's a game changer. A lot of people don't understand what that means, but what it means is that every Canadian citizen in every province can open an account, transfer fiat currency, Canadian dollars, into it, and be completely 100% compliant on their own crypto exchange. And they granted that in an order from the OSC. That changed everything for me. I said, okay, what's going to happen next? And within weeks, the very first ETF was launched on the Toronto Stock Exchange. Then the Ethereum ETF raised $5 billion in something like 48 trading hours. So that's the beginning. And then I saw the Swiss. Then I saw what happened in London. Then the ADGM in UAE. It's all happening, moving forward, and nothing's happening here. It's a very strange, eerie situation that the U.S. wouldn't lead on policy. And now I think with these senators you've seen here today and other policymakers coming, they get the joke. And I think as an industry, we've got to feed them as much information as we can to get it right, because a lot of this code, there's something very wrong when the brightest minds out of MIT or Stanford are living on a Caribbean island. What is that? Like, what does that tell you? That tells you that we don't have the infrastructure here on policy to bring these geniuses back on our soil and all the jobs and wealth they're creating. That's just wrong. It's 100% wrong, and we got to fix it.
When asked how far away the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission is from approving a spot Bitcoin exchange-traded fund ETF, "It's a long way away," Oleary replied. "That's not what's going to happen first. I think what's going to happen first is we are going to see policy on stable coins." He cited two bills that have been proposed for the regulation of stable coins. One was introduced by Senator Bill Hagerty and the other by Senator Pat Toomey, noting that a bill on stable coins will be easy to pass after the midterm elections. A Bitcoin ETF will allow investors to get exposure to the enticing potential of the most popular cryptocurrency without having to safely store it. Currently, Bitcoin ETF can only hold Bitcoin futures contracts or stocks of companies and other ETF with exposure to cryptocurrency. The Security and Exchange Commission continues to evaluate whether it wants to approve ETF that own Bitcoin directly. What's your take on this video? Do you share the view that crypto regulation will lead to more institutional adoption and eventual rocket of crypto prices? Let us hear your opinion in the comments section. Thanks for watching and stay savvy.